right. Happy Tuesday. Happy Memorial Day. Day after. Happy. Admit. How are these people still in the waiting room? I admitted a bunch of people already. All right. Get everybody back in line. There we go. Everybody admit. Cool. All right. So hope everybody had a great weekend. It is June 1st. So we got 30 days left. What do we got? January, March. Well, yeah, today's 30 days left in the second quarter for you to catch up. So I would like to officially put all of you on notice. Everybody in our office is on notice. You have 60 days to get a listing. If you don't, you're fired. I mean, is that what it takes? Is that what it takes to put some pressure on you guys? Because most of the times, how many people operate better under pressure? Yeah, I mean, most people do. Most people don't operate unless you have to. If I told you that you were dying tomorrow, unless you got off your butt and went to the gym because you're unhealthy, your body, your brain, your cancer, whatever it is, if I told you that you're going to die tomorrow if you don't start, if you start working out today, you can live another day, and every day you work out, you stay alive another day. How many people would actually be alive in 30 days? Every single one of you. So if I told every single one of you in here that in the next 30 days, if you don't have a listing, if you don't have prospects, if you're not actively following up with somebody, you won't have a job. How many of you would have a listing? Good. Policy implemented. 30 days to show me. 30 days to show. 30 days sounds a little more real, right? Because if I give you 60 days, half you're going to wait 30 days and start then. 30 days to get a listing. And I'm just telling you, you should fire yourself. I shouldn't have to do it if you don't have a listing in 30 days. Who here has done what they've needed to do this year to get the listings that they want? The amount of listings they want and deserve. Who here has done what they were supposed to do? Good. January, February, March, April, May. 5 months in and you haven't done what you're supposed to do to get the listings that you want? Good. Fire yourself. You have 30 days. If you don't have a listing in 30 days, fire yourself. If you don't do it, I'll take it on for you. Call me and tell me I need to be fired. Great, I'll fire you. And then I'll slash your tires. I will cut you. But how many of us, that's what we need to start looking at. This is really about, it's really about your business. You are the CEO of You Incorporated. Your real estate company incorporated. And if you're not doing the things that you need to do to get the business that you want, fire yourself. If you are the boss of you, if you were an employee who worked for you, would you still be working for you? Or would you have fired yourself right now up until 5 months into the year? Pretty serious. It's a serious question. Why? And nobody, we like to chat all the time. Nobody's chatting now. Give me some chat feedback. Would you still be hired in your company if you were the CEO and you were treating yourself as an employee and you were looking at yourself as a separate person as an employee? Would you be fired or would you still have a job? Some of us would be on a final warning. Okay. So, and part of this is coming up because of this. So we had a contest, right? And what was our contest? Bid it to win it, right? Teams, 3 different teams, right? 3 different teams. Jimmy is a buyer, sent an email and said, I really want to see this home. This is the home that I really like. I think I want to put an offer in on it. Guess how many people called him? Guess how many people called him? 1 team called him. 1 person, 1 team called him. The other 2 teams didn't. Guess how long it took the first team to call him? How long did it take him to call you?
Well, no, I didn't get any phone calls.
No, you did get a phone call, you said.
I got an email.
Okay,
I got an email within 38 minutes.
Within 38 minutes, 1 email, and then when did you didn't get in? No one called you.
I didn't get any phone calls.
No one called you to talk to you about the home that you wanted to put in?
Eventually I did, yes.
No, that's the point. How long did it take for them to call you?
Oh, a day and a half.
So I want to buy this home. I'm very interested in this home. Look, I know this is this is kind of playful and it was fun, but this is serious. This is meant to help you with strategy, to work with the people on your team so you can see what other people are doing. And we just randomly counted. And when I looked at the teams, there's experience on every team. There's newness on every team. Everybody had equal opportunities. And so it took a day and a half for anybody to call this buyer who said they're really interested and wants to buy a home. And only one team actually called him, got an email right away. I received a phone call as the listing agent from one team. That was it. No one else. And guess how many offers we got? One. One offer. One offer. Cool. So of 3 teams, an email went out on Wednesday afternoon about we have a property that we want to see and he wants to do this. So you had Wednesday evening, Thursday, Friday, and I understand it was a holiday weekend, but there was plenty of time and you guys were emailing. I saw some of the group, there's group emails going back and forth about who do this, we do that, I should do this, what about this, that's a good idea. But then nobody did anything. We didn't even get off. We got one offer. And we'll share the offer with you. We'll go through that. We'll go through the offer and show you what the offer was that come in. But I just have a question for you. So you see what you see Craig's email or Craig's emails about real satisfied, correct? What would your real satisfied survey say if that's how you treated a customer? And this wasn't 3 people. This was 3 teams with 6 people on each team. So in essence, 12 people on 2 of the teams. What would your real satisfied survey look like? I really want to buy this home. You saw the lead that came through that I want to list my home. And that took, it took quite a while to get back to them. Obviously there was no phone number, there was an email, but what would your real satisfied survey say? I wanted to buy a home. Buyer didn't get a phone call. And this isn't just this instance. This does happen. I do get, the Rosa's going through. She did this 2 months ago. She started calling all of our old dead leads and people that had inquired. She randomly will do it every couple months. She goes back and calls all the leads for the last couple months to see if they haven't been updated, if they have somebody, if they're still interested. Did anybody ever get in touch with you? I'm with CENTURY21, the real estate concierge, and I'm just curious to see if you still have any real estate needs. I'd love to help you out. Your agent never called me back. No one ever got in touch with me. I ended up do you have any needs? I'd love to get you. I would never use your company. And by the way, I bought a $1.2 million home. I called on a $750,000 home, and I went. And these aren't Zillow leads. These are people that called the company. So this is happening a lot. It's something that she's seeing. And now this is supposed to be something that's fun, get you collaborative, and we still didn't do that. So I'm going to try and figure out what we need to do. But I'm half tempted to implement if you don't have any traction in your business over the next 30 days, showing me what you've done to generate a listing, then I think you should fire yourself. I think it's fair, right? So something to think about. So only one team called, the buyer, and that team called basically 2 days after. Only one team called, the listing agent. None of the others did. Only one offer received, and the buyer said, I want to buy a home. So if you need a listing to keep your job, and you got 30 days to prove that you're doing it. Let's go, and I'll share the offer with you so we can see. So let's go through this offer and see what they did, whether what they did right, what they did wrong. So obviously, I will let you know if anybody won. Just because you put an offer in doesn't mean that you won, because I have to review it, and I'm going to see if it's, as a listing agent, I would also be the seller, if it's something I would like to consider selling at this point, or if it's something I'm just going to keep on the market and try and get more offers. So we had a complete offer. We had the seller's property disclosure was submitted. The licensee's disclosure, I personally did not, I intentionally did not include this with the offer because I wanted to see if you guys would put it in, and they did, they put it in. And one other thing, I know it's not your job to really do that, but my wife is also a licensed agent. She's just in a referral network, so we would just add that in there. The homeowners association document, I intentionally did not put a CDD disclosure in there because it's not required. The CDD disclosure is required for the initial sale of a property from a developer because the CDD is not reflective in the taxes. at that point from the developer. But once you have a resale, it should be reflected in the taxes. If you're in an instance where the buyer is selling the property prior to the taxes showing that the CDD is in there, add the disclosure just for clarity, just to make sure. But the CDD disclosure is not required. So we have our offer. It's been, so the names are backwards. Reed Christopher and Oy Lindsay. That's something just, it's kind of, it's nitpicky, but lenders do ask for these to be made correct and to be flip-flopped. I just had somebody do it the other day. The lender required the names to be written correctly, first name first, last name last. So just take the time to be diligent with putting that name correct like that. What's that? Well, sometimes, yeah. But in public record, all we did was copy and paste from public record in, which is, this is how it appears in public record: last name first, first name last. So just know that you might get that kickback from a lender. Included wine refrigerator, bar fridge, washer and dryer. I'm going to cross out one of them. Obviously, you didn't see the property because it's not really on market, but there's only one of them. There isn't both a wine fridge and a bar fridge, and I'm not including a bar fridge. I'm not going to be buying one. The offer is for $470. What was the list price? $450, right? $450. The offer is for $470. What's that? Yeah, this is the previous listing from when I bought. That's yeah, and that's why I'm not nitpicking about that. I'm just going through and verbalizing everything that I'm seeing. So $470. They're putting 10% in escrow within 1 day immediately. So basically, they're going to immediately deposit the escrow as soon as the signed contract comes through. The title company has been filled in, which if you don't have the title company information, get it. So at the bottom of every listing, right, this has been updated. Title company is down here at the bottom, so you can use that. And they put another 10% into escrow on day 6. I'm assuming that's after a 5-day inspection period, and to be determined, which is fine. There is no financing put in here. I'd like to see that. As an agent, I want to know. This says conventional, but there is 3% down conventional, 5% down, and 10%, 20% at some point. I want to know what percent is being financed. So that would be a diligence thing on my part. If you're putting 20% down, does that look better than putting 3%? Depending on the person reading it, yes. So make sure that we pay attention to that. We want an answer by 6/1 at 11:59 p.m. So by the end of the day today, they want a response. So that's good, because in the email, I believe it said the time for acceptance needs to be 6/1, and we'll have an answer for you by then. So you followed instructions and put in the time for acceptance, and didn't put in time for acceptance for Saturday or Sunday and tried to force an issue when there's multiple offers. So there are agents doing that. We have multiple offers. We'll be reviewing highest and best offers. We want them all in by Monday at 5 p.m. We will review them and have an answer by Tuesday at noon or whatever. Agents still put in and send for a time for acceptance for Sunday. Hey, we give you a good offer. We want an answer. Well, I'll present it to the seller, but I don't have to. The seller has directed that no offers be reviewed until the highest and best offers come in at this point in time, and an answer will be given then. So that's, you followed instructions, so make sure you're paying attention to that. Closing date in 7/1, which is a 30-day closing. May not assign this contract. It's contingent upon the buyer getting a conventional loan within 21 days for a fixed rate mortgage. And then his loan application will be done within 1 day, which is good. He's probably already got that done. So that's good. 21 days is really a good number for me. This is a residential contract with repair limits. So included in this is $0 inspections and 0%. So that basically, what does that mean to everybody? If you put $0 on there, what does that mean? Seller's not obligated to fix anything. So if the repairs, we have $0 in repair limits. If the repairs were $1,000, what does that mean for this contract? Who wants to chime in? What does it mean for this contract if the repairs were $1,000? Yeah, the contract comes in, the inspection is done, and the repairs are $1,000. What's that mean? No, not necessarily. Buyer takes it on his own, not necessarily. There's no obligation. You can negotiate. So the contract says, this is what it says. If the repairs are in excess of the repair limits, one of three things will happen. Number one, the buyer will accept the contract at the repair limits, $0, and move forward. Number two, the seller will agree to fix everything, and the buyer will be forced to move forward with the contract. That's number two. And if neither of those happen within 5 days of the last estimate of repairs, for that to be forced, the buyer has to deliver written notice within 5 days of the last estimate that was provided to the buyer, written notice that says, I will accept the property at the repair limits. Or the seller has to deliver written notice saying, I will fix everything in the repairs, that $1,000. If that does not happen within 5 days of the last estimate, either party can cancel, but only once that time frame has happened. Inspection is done, notify of defects. We have $0 in repair limits. So I'm going to notify you of the defects. The seller's job, even though there's $0 in repair limits, is to get estimates of all of the repairs. It doesn't matter if there's $0 in repairs, get estimates of all the repairs, provide them to the buyer. Either party within 5 days of that last estimate has to deliver written notice that they are moving forward or forcing the other side to move forward. Or you negotiate something in between. You can negotiate, hey, Mr. Seller, just fix this one thing. It's $250. I'll move forward. Are you okay with that? If that does not happen within 5 days of the last estimate, only then can the buyer or the seller cancel this contract. That's why it's imperative to know your time frames, because in this contract, if there's $1,000 in repairs and it's $1,000 limit, the buyer can cancel if the seller doesn't say, I'm moving forward. The seller can cancel if the buyer doesn't say, I'll accept it at $0 in writing, and then only then can either party cancel. That's what keeps a contract together, is not having that sole discretionary right to just cancel a contract for any reason. The title evidence within 10 days prior to closing. Well, why would we shorten this? But this gave us more time off market. This says 10 days prior to closing, we will have the title evidence. If left blank, 15, but we put a 10 in there. So 15 days prior to closing, we will deliver title evidence to the buyer, showing them that the title is free and clear with no encumbrances issues. Why would we shorten that to 10? Because that just drags it out closer to closing. If there is an issue, you have 5 days to review and can cancel. So it just puts us closer to the closing date that you need more time to get the, so not a huge deal. I know there's no title issues, but that could be an issue, shortening that. So let's just have everything done and out of the way. Title evidence 15 days prior to closing. You can shorten it if you want. That's just something that might be an issue for me. The buyer is going to pay for the closing agent, which is great. So buyer will pick and pay for the title company. Home warranty, nothing. Seller will pay installments due prior to closing. Buyer will pay afterwards. Disclosures, 20 days. So here's something that might be an issue for me too as a seller. This is an AE flood zone. What is that? No, this is an AE flood zone. It was at the table saying, hey, get off me. You're sitting on me. I don't know what that is. Anyway, so, oh, is that, oh, that's the front in there. So this might be an issue for me because as a seller, this isn't an AE flood zone, but it's actually X. There's a letter of exception for the entire community. And only 1 or 2 properties in there require flood insurance. Like this is treated as an X flood zone because of that letter of exception. But this isn't a special flood hazard area, but there is a letter. So I'm not really sure how that would go, but this says the buyer within 20 days of getting under contract, if they're advised by an elevation certificate which flood zone the property is in and whether it's required by the lender, restrictions may apply, blah, 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 blah. They can cancel within 20 days. So I don't want to give you that time. So I probably want to cancel that and put it to 0. It's an X zone. The lenders do not require insurance. So I want that gone. I don't want you just to have 20 days just to determine. Because you could say flood insurance cost me $500. That's more than I wanted to pay. Because you can add flood insurance to an X policy, and in my neighborhood, it's $400 or $500 depending on the carrier. So that might be an issue for me. Inspection period 5 days. This again, it's probably going to be an issue for me because today's Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. Then you actually have 6 days. I don't want that. So get your inspection done by Friday. I'm gonna shorten it to 3 days, or you'll have the 6 days. That's just again something for me. I mean, pay attention to time frames. Know that what days it follow. Now, if you're doing that as a buyer to benefit your buyer, that's fine. But I'm gonna pay attention to it. I told you I will come through and I will tear apart every little date on here because I will be overly diligent for a seller to make sure the dates line up, especially when we have 10, 20, 30 offers, or one in this case. Beep, beep. Let's see. So nothing else to fill in until we get down to the end. No, I'm not doing it. So we have the homeowners association. We have the licensee's disclosure checked. Then we have the buyer transaction fee. And in the event that the appraised value of the property is below the purchase price, the buyer is willing and able to pay up to $30,000 above the appraised value, not to exceed the purchase price. That might be something, depending on the other offers we have, this could be good or bad. And depending on the buyer's ability, it's, it is what it is. But that might be something I may want that the appraisal contingency waived altogether. But don't be afraid to ask for anything. He who has the gold makes the rules. If you're a seller and you're a listing agent, you have the right to negotiate what you want. You see how low the inventory is. You see what's going on there. So if I wanted to, I could say, sorry, you got to waive it. You got to waive it altogether. You're telling me you'll pay up to 30 grand above. The property's listed at 450. You offered 470. So you realistically, it only has to appraise for 440. Just waive it. I priced it like it is because that's where I think the value is and where it should appraise. You told me it needs to appraise 10 grand less than list. Doesn't make sense to me. Waive your appraisal contingency. Waive it. If you said $20,000, okay, now it only has to appraise for the list price. Okay, I might be a little more open to that because I priced it like that because that's where I feel the value is. So just think all of those things through depending on what it may look like on the other side. But that's it. That's good. So the one offer we have is a solid offer, $20,000 over the list price. And then, so now I'll have to decide if we want to keep it on the market or if I want to accept an offer. So we'll let you know by the end of the day by 11:59 p.m. in writing. Yes, ma'am. Yes. Okay. Yes. Okay, so coming back to the $0 in repairs for a residential contract with repair limits, $0 in repairs, in essence, turns this into an as-is contract in a way where neither party has the sole discretionary right to just cancel for any reason. There's steps that have to happen before the buyer or the seller is able to cancel because both of them will have the right to cancel after a certain period. The steps are do your inspection, notify the seller as a buyer. I'm going to talk from the buyer standpoint. Notify the seller of the defects. At that point, the seller will have been notified of the defects and must get estimates for all of the things that are wrong with the property that are warranted by the contract. Okay? You have to get all of the things that it's not up to the buyer to give them and say, hey, just get this and this estimated. That's all that I want to see. It's the buyer's job to deliver a list of all of the defects found on the inspection, all of them, because then the seller's duty is to estimate all of them. The buyer has to have the ability to see how much it's going to cost to repair each item. If the estimates come above the repair limits, the buyer has to know what they're getting into, and they have to be able to say, let's just say there was $1,000 in repair limits, but $2,000 in repairs. The buyer has to have the ability to say, you know what? I'll take the $1,000 in repairs. I understand the other $1,000. Those are stupid. They're small things. I'm okay with accepting those. I just want you to fix this one thing, which will be $1,000. They have to have the ability to choose which ones they want to be able to be fixed. and to let the seller know within 5 days of the last estimate that was provided in writing, Mr. Seller, thank you for the estimates. Please repair this one item. I will accept the property with $1,000 in repairs. You fixing this one item, that will be $1,000. I'm foregoing the other issues. Follow? Your face says no. Okay. So you got okay, good. So within 5 days of the last estimate, you as the buyer's agent have to let the seller know, I want you to fix these items up to the limit, and we will be moving forward. Or, sorry, the repairs are $2,000. Our limit was $1,000. Will you fix this one $1,500 issue? It's going to be $1,500 to fix the AC. Will you fix the AC and I'll move forward? And you can negotiate. And if the seller says no, okay, well, we got a couple more days to wait, because within 5 days of the last estimate that the seller provided, you as the buyer can cancel if no notice was given in writing from the seller stating, I will fix everything and force you to buy this home. If the seller doesn't say that, within 5 days, the buyer can cancel the contract. If the seller does not say that, forcing him to buy that. Would you want? Yes. So the question is, how do we notify the seller, and how do you pick out the warranted items? You can, if you would like if there's a ton of items and you say, look, here's, if you want to do it, you can tell the seller, Mr. Seller, here's the items that I'm very concerned with. I really need you to get estimates for these. Don't worry about anything else. But your only duty is to deliver a list of all of the defects, and the seller's duty is to get the warranted items estimated for repairs. They only have to get the warranted items estimated. They don't have to get everything estimated, just the warranted items. Okay? No, we're not talking about FHA. We're talking about we're not talking about an FHA rider. We're talking about, this is a residential contract with repair limits. Cool. Gotcha. Good. Any other questions? So you guys will be notified by 11:59 if anybody won the bid and won the offer, and if anybody won the contest and is getting taken to lunch.
All right. Can I talk about my experience as a buyer real quick?
Yeah, go ahead.
Thanks. Okay. So
what's up, man? I was what?
Woo, food. Yes. So again, I know Chris already kind of discussed how quickly, people got in touch with me, the emails, the no emails, the whatever it is. But I did want to talk about some things I thought were kind of cool from the ones that did actually communicate. And then, one of my big takeaways from this too is, I know everybody's busy. We're flying around. If you're out there trying to find a house for someone, it's just draining trying to get somebody under contract. You expect everybody to understand what's happening in the market and things like that, and be like, here you go. And so I'm going to give you some takeaways that I had from it that I think that were really, really cool. And then some that, the type of buyer I was probably wouldn't have handled some of it in the way that I did, since I'm in the business. So just so you all know, I had $150,000 to play with. Obviously it was a 20% conventional loan.
That part wasn't obvious because it wasn't written on the contract.
I'm saying yeah, you're right.
So that's what I'm saying. That's what I'm pointing out.
So I let my agents know that I did not want to spend all of that money I had out of that 150. I wanted about 10 to 15 grand left over after this is all said and done. So that's what they had to kind of work with on an offer, which I think is why the $30,000 over $35,000 over appraisal price, came into play. So when I did get communicated, one team did reach out and ask a lot of questions, everything from time frame. Is this your first time buying home? Really asking a lot of questions, which is very important when you get a new lead. I got video text saying, thank you for reaching out. Appreciate you allowing us an opportunity to kind of work with you. Since we kind of did it a little virtually, they even asked for an ID. Now, I was Bruce Wayne from Gotham City, of course. I had to have a little fun with it. So, that was the fun piece, honestly, with that. I got everything from a handout talking about the property disclosures, reaching out saying, hey, we don't even have the property disclosures yet. Let me go ahead and get those for you and I'll let you know. So a lot of good communication on that standpoint. But then I also had communication that honestly, I think this happens a lot with agents. I'm not saying everybody in this room, but again, you're drained. You're getting these leads. People aren't getting stuff under contract because they're missing out on it. And I literally got an email that said, well, you know, the prices go all the way up to 550. Not really even trying to figure out much about me.
The first email communication had talking about what's going on in the market. You may have to pay over appraised value. Just so you're aware, homes are valued in that area for a pool home of that size between 450 and 559.
It's a seller's market.
And buyers are having to pay over list price and over appraised value to get properties. That was one of the first emails. You just completely turned that buyer off. Wait, so it's his response. So are you saying that I may have to pay $560,000 for this $450,000 home?
Response from that. So
and then no reply.
So, and I sent a pre-approval. I had a lender that was willing to, you could even call and talk to figure out what was kind of going on. But this is my first home I'm buying. Yeah, for 450, that's pretty sweet. But it was I treated it as I'm a first time home buyer. So I don't know what's going on in the market. I see houses going crazy prices and stuff. I don't know what's happening.
Even if this is a guy who's bought and sold a ton of homes and you put it, and he's trying to buy a home and you put that in, is that really a conversation for an email to have with a buyer to tell, like, you literally just, you know, no offense to anybody, but I wonder why I'm seeing all these posts on Facebook about people pissed off at their agents telling them, I had one agent, I need an agent who's going to work for me, not just tell me what the market is and do this. Well, and I'm defending, well, that's what the market is. But then I realized that some of us are doing that, sending an email telling the buyer what the market is instead of actually having.
Conversation needs to happen. It needs to happen, but probably not.
Yeah, but not in an email for a $450,000 home. You may have to pay $560 for it. I'm just saying. So yeah, come on. That's
yeah. I mean, I agree. It's just, you just have to, like, that's probably not the first conversation. A call would be nice, but you know what? It's not that I challenge Chris on that. Like, they didn't call me right away. Because everybody does communicate differently. Like he didn't like that.
I hated that.
I didn't mind it.
I didn't get a call. I didn't get a call until like 2-3 days later.
But everybody
from anybody.
You need to know.
The buyer wants to buy the home, and not one single agent called the listing agent to say, "Hey, how's it going? What's going on with the listing? Just wanted to chat you up a little bit." Only one agent did within 2 days, 2.5 days. No one else called to chat the listing agent up and say, what's going on? How's everything going? How you been? You may be working with me. I'd love to be friends. You want to go on the boat? Want to go fishing? Where do you live? How long? I notice it's your home.
Yeah, I mean, that's fine.
Absolutely, okay, so I want to be romanced. I want to feel some love, because when I'm sitting there looking at 20 offers on the table, which one am I going to lean towards? The one who tried to wine and dine me a little bit before trying to take me to bed. Talk dirty to me. Tell me I'm pretty. Tell me you like me. I'm gonna have to have a talk with my wife about this, but seriously, this was the whole point of the exercise, was to have you guys talk to each other and see what you guys are doing with each other. But all that ended up happening was a group email between two teams going back and forth. I think this would be maybe we should do that. I think maybe not one of them called. Not one of them did anything. Some of the ideas in there were good, but nobody executed. And it took 3 days to get those ideas out. So what I'm talking, speed to lead. We need to be really fast. We need to be getting on top of these things. The buyer's agent, the listing agent, the seller, everybody should have a communication. The lender, within the first hour or two, they should have a communication. They need to know that somebody's interested, because what would I do as a listing agent? I'm going to call back another agent and say, hey, I noticed you were the first person out of the gates to call me, and I was just curious. You said your buyer is really interested. You came back and showed the property twice, but I haven't received an offer. Are you guys wanting to put an offer in? I would call and double check just to make sure. Oh, I thought that was tomorrow. No, highest and best was today. Oh, yeah, absolutely. Let me talk to the buyer. We'll get it in. So let's have some communication. It's all about working together. That's where it's key, when you have that communication going on and you're talking to people and you know, when's the property going on market? When's it going to have highest and best? What kind of buyer is it? My buyer's really interested. Right now, you're not giving away anything by telling them your buyer's really interested. They absolutely love the home. All right, get in line. There's 10 other people in front of you that do. You're not giving anything away. You're standing out a little bit. You're letting them know that you have interest and you're having communication and you're building that rapport. I did not get a call. I might have had I don't see a message or anything, but I didn't get a call. Well, I'm glad that you asked. And he may not have done it just because it was more of a game, but you did ask him the call, which is absolutely great. That's a wonderful thing. I don't even know if Mike Wile. I'm just kidding. I know Mike calls. I know Mike would call everybody. So Mike, that's right. It is first Tuesday.
Yeah, he's getting ready to work.
Cool. So yeah, that's one thing you should be asking a lender to do. And Mike is happy to do it. He's happy to have a conversation with anybody and tell him how awesome his buyer is and what he's done and how far he is through the process and what he verified and what he didn't, and give him all the information he can that he's legally allowed to.
And my last two pieces just on this whole thing too is just when you are going through and writing an offer for a client and going over it with them, again, take their expertise if they've done this, if they don't. I mean, this is our job, not theirs. We're truly explaining the difference between the two contracts that we use all the time, so they completely understand. They're not just like, huh, what's happening? Yeah, that sounds good. We get to that point where, like, if you want an offer, you got to write this contract right here, not giving them options. We still want to try and help them out. And then the last thing I'd say too, and this has worked for me, and I don't know if this would have come up at all if we got any other offers, but yes, it's a 20% down loan. We're going up against multiple offers. I put a cap on how much I could do because I wanted to have that extra money out. And the one thing we didn't discuss is, did I qualify for anything else? Could I have qualified for a 10% down loan where I could have come to the table with more to make sure that I got the house? You know, kind of addressing that a little bit differently. So just use what you have. I mean, if it's FHA, if it's conventional, if it's 3%, 5%, 10%, 20%, take a look at that, where their funds are, where they're comfortable with. And because that could have possibly been able to only have the 45 grand down.
So here's one thing that does happen.
More.
That's actually something worth talking about. So $400,000 home, just for easy numbers, 20% down is $80,000. I really want the home, but I only have $90,000 to work with for closing costs and down payment, right? $80,000 down payment. I got closing costs. You want to go above the price, we can go to maybe 410, and you've got some room to work with. You can do some with appraisal. One thing to think about is, what if you qualify for a 10% down loan rather than 20? And can you use, well, you may not because of the DTI. 10% down raises their monthly payment up by a little bit. So it may, but do you qualify for 10% down rather than 20% down? And can you use that other 10% to put towards the appraisal difference to make sure you get the home? So doing a lower down payment loan so you have more cash available to put towards the appraisal gap, potentially. But that's where your lender comes in, because now your lender needs to verify debt to income, reserves. If taking that, maybe you needed all that money to qualify. What if you didn't need all that money to qualify, but you're going to use all of that money in the appraisal gap? Now you have no reserves. At the lower down payment and higher monthly payment, you might need reserves. So that's where the lender becomes very key in communicating with them and saying, look, she really wants this home. Can we do 5% down, keep more cash available, offer $25,000 over the list price, because we really want to make this happen. So 5% of 400,000 is 20 grand. Then you're going to offer 25 grand over the list price, be willing to pay 25 over the appraised value. So now that's 45 grand out of pocket. You still have $40,000 in your pocket from the 20% down, if that works for your buyer. Just something to consider.
I mean, I literally had someone who had a conventional loan that was like, this was the max amount they could be, the amount of money they'd have to put down for the 20%. That was it. Like, we had no wiggle room whatsoever, and we're missing out. Well, guess what? He actually got approved for an FHA loan. Payments were fine for him. Did not have to worry about any reserves. Payment was perfect. We went in FHA, and actually went over. We had the extra money if he needed it to be able to get the house. And I got an FHA under contract instead of conventional, switching it and going that way.
Cool.
So just some things to think about. And again, when you have someone who has a restriction on how much money they have to put down, just some other ways to look at it when trying to draft an offer. And then, but also letting them know, like, that's a conversation you need to have with the seller. This is why we went this way instead of this way. So we had the extra money, to put down if, and then in case the appraisal isn't where it needs to be.
Cool.
And having that conversation. So
cool. Yeah, we'll let you know by the end of the day. Mike, what do you got for us today, buddy?
I figured it was the holiday weekend, so I brought food in. I don't miss the time frame, so I'm consistent. How about that?
What's going on in your world? What are you
Right now,
seeing?
I would say that some of it. I don't know what everyone's seeing. I thought I would get a poll from the audience today, but I see kind of on a larger group, statewide, multi-statewide. It's not as crazy as it was last month. Does anybody see that, or you think it's busier this month? I'm not talking about clients that are closing, but as far as your new stuff,
Are you
how's it
seeing
sitting?
new buyers? I'm quite frankly, I feel like I see a few more listings coming on the market and a few more actives. I know our numbers aren't showing it because we're still active and we're selling a lot because we're bringing a lot of buyers in. But I do feel like when I'm clicking on my hot sheet for new listings in our area, I feel like I'm seeing a few more listings.
A few more. Like I'm
But
not saying it's dramatic. I'm not saying
Yeah,
it's
but I do,
changed.
and well, our leads are about the same too. So our leads haven't shifted too much, but I do see what you're saying. I don't see a slowdown, but I don't feel it as
I feel like it's
absolutely
not
crazy.
I feel like we got to a peak and like we're kind of like now we gotten used to that. It's like when you first go to the gym and you've been in there the first couple of days, it's terrible. Like your legs hurt 3 days later, all that stuff happens. Now you're kind of getting used to being busy. What I'm seeing with that is the good thing is appraisals are starting to catch up.
Yep.
We're not having it was crazy. Our group brought on another appraisal management company, even though we're quite large, brought another one to get involved. That's actually able to get faster. I was getting turn times of a month, and I'm like, you're out of your mind. So we got this other one who's pretty much fast, 3 to 5 days, quick.
Cool.
They're Florida based, all that stuff. So it helps. So I'm seeing that the appraisals are getting better. I still don't have a dramatic, had a couple dramatic, couple in a large number where the appraisal came in a lot under, but it really hasn't been where I've been crazy. Out of 30, 40 files, it's been 1 or 2. So that's actually a really good thing. And in those cases, people were prepared for it.
DR Horton also mentioned to a couple of our agents that in most of their communities, they're not seeing any major issues either. So they're having good luck with that. I just
closed a good friend in Toll Brothers, and he got lucky. He bought the house, took him about 8 months to build. Purchase price was $420. Appraisal came in at $470.
Nice.
So, I mean, he's 50 grand up, and I that's probably a low estimate in that area because where they're at, it's in St. Johns County, North Florida, but
awesome.
They're still building, still doing that. So, I mean, everything's been good with that. Lending's been good. The restrictions I told you last month were a little crazy because of all the things with the new URL and those things, but that has kind of evened out. We're starting to work through the kinks, know how to, it's kind of like getting a new car and you can't figure out where the iPad plugs in or where to charge your phone, or it's been a lot of weird issues, but those things are starting to even out. We've got explanations for all that, so we know how to work through it.
Cool.
Couple of illustrations I want to go from last month, which we did together with another agent from here. People want to do a investment bank statement loan, a bunch of different things. You don't mind if I talk about that?
No, go ahead.
Ended up another lender couldn't do it. Brought it to us. Not only were we able to do it as a regular loan, we're also refinancing their current mortgage to make it all work. So what I try to do when you talk with me on a file that has issues, I'm going to deconstruct whatever you're saying, because obviously it's already a problem. If it's an easy deal and it doesn't matter, if you're saying I'm struggling,
Mike's not just looking at the prize.
Right.
There's a lot going on around it. So he says, well, tell me more about you. I know you want this. Tell me more about you. What do you have? What are you doing? Where are you at? What's your payment? He's looking at payments, looking at all that. So for him to be able to deconstruct down and say, well, we could do this, put you in a better position here, do this here. This is a regular loan. We don't have to worry about all that crap that you just went through, getting denied and everything.
I mean, a bank statement loan is really only for people whose businesses make a lot of money. I mean, I'm talking, you need to be grossing $8,000-$10,000 a month to really make those loans work. Now, that's not big money in some businesses. If you're talking about a small borrower that has a small business, that's not necessarily the loan that's going to work for them. So how do we fix everything else so that works? So we lowered debt to income on their current stuff, and still it ended up working out better for them by, like, the house investment property was a 100% positive for them at that point, no negative. And we brought down their monthly bills $1,000 a month. So buying the house worked out really, really well for them. They're like, it sounds too good to be true. I go, it's just math. I promise. There's no tricks. It's just math. Your interest rates are crazy on these 3 items. And by consolidating, going to one. And I told them, if you want to make, well, I don't want to lose time. I always shoot. I don't want to lose time on my mortgage. I go, if you keep making the same payment you're making now, you could pay all this stuff off in 10 years. There's no scenario with what you're currently doing that works out anywhere close. One was 16 years left, one was 27 years left, and the other one was, a small loan. It was like 8 years left or something.
So you lowered their monthly obligation. They still have the ability to pay the same amount of money they were paying before, and doing so was going to shorten the amount of time that they owed on the property so they could pay it off sooner.
Yeah. And we got them to not have to do a bank statement loan, which interest rates on bank statement loans are 6-7% with points up front, 2-3 points. Now I do them. I mean, I'm not saying I don't, but I mean, I do them off for truckers, independent contractors who bring in tons of money, but once expenses and all that gets done and creative financing, accounting, whatever, it doesn't work out. Those are the loans that if you're looking for those and you say, hey, I want to do a bank statement loan, it really is a loan designed for people with a lot of gross revenue. And if you have that, great. I can do it all day. It is a very easy loan. It's not a big deal if they have it. If they're not making large money, then really you still stick to something traditional. Cool. Any other questions for me? Go ahead.
Nope. Question is bank statement
fine.
loans, do they still need to have their taxes done?
We're not even going to look at that. We're not even going to look at it. So all in bank statement loan, it is a portfolio loan, meaning that the bank is investing their own money on it. They're going to take the last 12 or 24 months of deposits, average them, and then use that as their gross revenue, and then divide out what their obligations are. They need to show at least $2,000. Once all that's done, they still need to have $2,000 a month in extra money. So let's do quick, easy math. Right, $10,000, right? And I want to buy a $300,000 house, just so it's pretty easy. Let's just say the payment is $1,800. Okay, so now we got that. Got a couple debts here, there, and the other. And let's say we're using $3,000 or $4,000 of that, right? Of the $10,000. Now we know that the business has a certain amount of money left, right? The business has some expenses. So let's bring that down, and maybe we're working with 7 or 8 or something. It's really easier than it sounds. And then as long as after all that's done, they still have $2,000 in revenue extra, it's fine. We can do the loan. Once you get down to smaller numbers, it gets hard. Get down to 4,000, you don't have a lot of room to work with. 5,000, 6,000. The higher the revenue on the annual basis, like anything else, money does help make things go round. All right. They're always going to be higher. The reason is it's not government-backed loans.
It's not a conforming loan.
So people said the other day, well, I had a client over the weekend. Well, I make good money in my business. I go, right, and I'm not saying you don't. I'm saying that you're asking the government to back a loan, so they are going to look at the money that you claim you make. That's why the interest rates are low. It's just how it is. Unfortunately, you can't get low rates and claim low income. That doesn't qualify. We just don't have that option. But a portfolio lender will take a chance, and it could be 10%, 20%, or 30% down. Bank statement loans are not 3.5%, 5%. They're not. They're 10%. They're people with money who aren't claiming enough of it. That's what it's for. Now you're not going to run into that. I don't think we've talked about those in here yet, really. But we do them. If you have a buyer that meets that guideline, typically you're going to see people that are like contractors. Like I met a guy at little pub out here one day. He was from New York. He makes a ton of money. He travels up, does big equipment operations. So he was working on that reservoir one day. They paid him to come from New York. He's making like $50 to $75 an hour, and they make it to people like that where they make a ton of money, 1099, but they're not claiming as much of it. What else? So for all the faithful that showed up today for me in my meeting, I have some for you. Can I get my assistant again? Now, since you all, grab that little stack
Van
of
and
stuff
McNally.
there. So these are the people that are here. We got a bunch of biscuits, so I want you to eat and do everything you can. We'll get the girls downstairs involved. Since you should be traveling some more here, we got some tags for you, so everybody can get one. All the, not you. It does kind of match. There you go. And then if we have it, I think we have 6. So if we're at, I think we're at the right number. Yeah. There you go. A little tag for you. You can remember me when you do it.
Nice.
Oh, you're welcome.
Bag tags for traveling.
There you go.
Score.
You're welcome. You're welcome. Yeah.
So online, Mike, Joe Alotto said, kudos to Mike for helping my son with a refi. Thanks, Mike. So if anybody hasn't heard, if you talk to anybody who's done business with Mike, I mean, everybody's been very happy. He saved deals, he started deals, and everybody's feels. The big thing is communication, like Jimmy and I were talking about what was happening and what was going on before. Be able to communicate. He's got multiple people on his team that are reaching out, connecting with, communicating. And whereas a lot of times when you have a team of people, everybody's crossing paths, not knowing what the hell's going on. You don't see that. Everything's real cohesive. Everybody's got the communication down. Mike asks for something, passes it on. This person follows up with it. It's not like Mike asked for it, they ask for it, the next person asks for it, the next person asks for it. So everybody's very happy with the way that's been. So if you have an opportunity, give them a shot.
Yeah, I want you to know that the people, your deals in this office outside of funding and underwriting will stay in this office. Okay. So now we're at the point where we have processing in this office. We have, we kind of our setup is this. It's me. Then there's Marissa. There's gonna be another lady who's going to be doing like the intake, like talking to people that call in, and doing those. I'm gonna structure the deals, make sure they're right, and then we'll keep that going. And a lot of communication back and forth. But and then also when we get to processing, which is where they're actually ordering title, ordering the transcripts, all that stuff will all still be here. There will be we don't have underwriters yet. We're not to that point yet, but the underwriters are going to be handling that portion. But underwriting only sees a file about 3 days.
Yeah,
really, that's all they do. They look,
and
they're not even looking at it, but for 3 hours.
And the buyer's typically never talking to the
Never
underwriter in any way. So like that's
you
just
can talk to everybody involved in this, and the closing team actually came to this office already. The head of our whole thing. So she came up here and she was here for a couple days, and I'll have her come down again. So your files will move fast through with us. My goal with everyone in this office is 21 to 30 days. So if you have a file outside of appraisal, I will close it for you in that time frame. Okay. So that is the goal. I think if I can get you down to a shorter time frame, that is going to help no matter what.
He's trying to get your file, get it in, get it done, get the appraisal ordered as soon as possible. So we know exactly where it stands within a short period of time, rather than everybody sitting there going, so what's going on? I haven't heard anything for a while. He's going to try and bang it all out. Let's get it all done up front as quick as we can.
As quickly as we can, knock them out, and then you won't have that stress and worry and everything else. So, all right, get some
Awesome.
food or whatever you got. I got.
No, we're all set. We're all good. All set.
All right. Thank you.
Thanks, guys. Have a great day. Thanks, brother.